Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you once again. And I got to stop saying see you once again. It's nice to be here once again. Um, as always, I feel blessed to have the opportunity to speak on this channel until they ban me. Too much talk about God unless you're working for the system. But I want to talk about something really briefly because I'm going to get into it a lot deeper in a podcast, maybe even a video. But I got to ask you a question. Did the Roman Catholic Church take the Bible out of schools? It's hard to believe, isn't it? I know some of you are going to be watching this because when I click when I make the title, you're going to click on this and you're like, what is this crazy guy talking about? So I was going to do a podcast about when 1963, when basically God and prayer were taken out of school and that whole thing. But I found something interesting in my studies when I was doing this, and it led me back to even further back, 1834. Not 1834. Well, actually, yes, 1834 was one thing that had nothing to do with the schools, but somehow they associated with. 1844, there was something called the Philadelphia Bible Riots. 1854, there was another situation. So there was a case in Angleton, Wisconsin, I believe. And what I found was interesting. The Catholic Church wanted to remove the King James Bible from the school system because they didn't want their Catholic students, the kids of their Catholic parishioners to read from the King James Bible. Because back then you read Bible passages. They didn't want them reading from the Protestant Bible. So they're the ones who brought this forward. And then it was, it happened again in Maine. Maine, same thing. They wanted to remove the King James Bible. Notice how they're really attacking this King James Bible. So they tried to remove it there. There was a court case there. And a lot of people know about the Illinois case. And then there was the Philadelphia case where the bishop, and this one was interesting to me, 1844, the bishop wrote to the Board of Educators, Selectors, or whatever. I forget what they called them, the National Board of Educators of Philadelphia or something like that. And he asked the same thing. He wanted them to remove the King James Bible. He didn't want their kids reading the King James. They wanted them to read the Dewey. Excuse me. Now, I believe in the Maine case, the Donahoe versus Richards, I believe that they had asked it to be pulled out and read somewhere differently because they didn't want them to be indoctrinated. They didn't want their Catholic kids to be indoctrinated by the Protestants, which I thought was interesting. Then go to a Catholic school. We have all these Catholic schools, so I looked into that briefly. And in the 1840s in Philadelphia, during the Philadelphia Bible Riots, where the Bishop Frederick, I can't remember his name, or Kendrick or something, you can look it up yourself, the Philadelphia Bible Riots. I'm stumbling over my words. My wife always says some of my videos I stumble over my words because I'm trying to remember the information. 1844, we were talking about the Philadelphia Bible Riots. So he wrote, and he wanted them to take it out and replace it. So I looked into it. I'm like, didn't they have any schools? There were 6 in that area. In the 1840s, that's a lot of schools. They had a St. Mary's, a St. Joseph, a St. John's, a St. Joe's, and the St. Joseph's Orphans Asylum. Can they be canceled for that, for using the word asylum and for children? Anyways, different time, different era, I guess. But I have to ask you, has the Roman Catholic Church, are they the ones responsible for the Bible not being in the schools? Now we can fast forward now to 1962, or 1956 actually, when the Abington in Pennsylvania, Abington Township or something like that, where a young man who didn't want to read it supposedly, and he bought a Quran instead, and And that young man ended up going on to become a Unitarian, an atheist, Unitarian Universalist, human secularist. I have no idea. That's a mouthful. I was like, yikes. I'm not going to mock him. He's going to live how he's going to live. Do what you got to do. So that was interesting. So that wasn't exactly like he brought the Quran because he was a Muslim or anything like that. That was his stand. Same thing with the 15-year-old girl up in Maine whose parents didn't want her doing that. Notice how we're always using the children and old people as pawns? Quite popular, isn't it? You see it around us today. Same thing. Using the children and the old people as pawns for fear and... But I don't want to make this video too long because this can be a very long video, and I don't want to make a long video. But the podcast will probably go an hour long once I get that up and going. Not the podcast channel, but the podcast itself. And that's probably going to be up next Thursday. By the time I iron out some bugs, it'll be next Thursday. But ask yourself quite simply, is today's prayer... 1963. Again, I'll make this video way too long. So a lot of people think it was the atheists and the ungodly people. Some ungodly people were involved. And the atheists weren't exactly the part of it. They blamed... I know they want to talk about the blame to this Maureen O'Hara lady, the founder of American Atheist, and she was not the catalyst to this. I mean, she was the last part of what had been building, and we're in it today too, but she wasn't the reason. And then some of her family were murdered over $50,000 or something like that. I don't. In fact, one of her sons that she disowned actually became a born-again Christian. Not a Christian in the general term of, hey, everybody's a Christian. No, he was an actual born-again Christian from my understanding. I don't know the man, but that's from my understanding of the reading research I did on that. But again, I'm going to go back to the same thing, and I've said it for a long time. So you got rid of the King James Bible. You didn't get your Bible in. Now there's no Bible. There's no God. And now I guess if you want to try to find God, you can go to the Catholic school system and find a better religion. Remember, Catholic schools were getting funding. Don't let them fool you. They say they didn't. Yeah, they got federal government funding at one time. Then they channeled it differently, and what they did is like, it doesn't come directly to us. The public school system reached out to us to see if we want to partake in some of the funding. See what I'm saying? But, yeah. I blame the Roman Catholic Church to a certain degree of removing the Bible. I never thought I would. That's not what I was looking for when I went into this. I wanted to see and pinpoint who, when, why, where, in the governmental structure that it was removed, and who was the Supreme Court Justice. Oddly enough, sitting on the bench there, who was in charge of things in 1963 was Brennan, who was a Roman Catholic. Very open about it. Some people wondered if that was going to be an issue, him being a Roman Catholic, and I guess it wasn't for the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, it wasn't an issue at all. And I'm going to get into some other stuff. But anyways, the Roman Catholic Church, not the Catholics. See, people always think I'm just like saying all Catholics are bad. No, the system itself is bad. Oh, that's because you're a Protestant. No. The Protestant system with certain churches, the Baptist, and there's certain Baptists, there's certain all that. So I will reiterate like I always do. I don't go to a church building. I worship God every single day in my daily life. I am in that Bible every day. Sometimes not enough as far as I'm concerned. But thank you for tuning in. God bless. I love you, and have a beautiful day.